live.
Good evening, everybody. Today we are joined in this continuous educational series by a renowned geneticist from Varanasi. Dr. Parimal Das is a professor and coordinator at the Center for Genetic Disorders at the Institute of Science, BHU, Banaras Hindu University, which is located in Varanasi. For the international viewers, the Indians are very familiar with this university, which is one of the finest universities in India. After completing his PhD from BHU, and which is of course an institute of eminence, his first postdoctoral work was carried out in National Institute of Immunology, New Delhi, and he worked towards the recombinant DNA-based malaria vaccine at this institute, and after which he moved to US for his further research. And for that, he has contributed immensely in the human diseases, gene identification, cancer genomics, proteomics at the Baylor College of Medicine, and MD Anderson Cancer Hospital at the US in Texas. At present, his group is working on the genomics of polycystic kidney disease, renal cell cancer, and congenital missing tooth in the human. And so he's basically, as you can see, a geneticist and uses molecular and genetic tools to understand cancer-related disorders. Another major focus of his research is neurogenetic disorders, such as Parkinson's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is also known as the Stephen Hawking's disease. And his group has been a partner of the prestigious MJFF Global Genetic Parkinson's Disease Consortium, which is basically a consortium of 103 geneticists and researchers from 43 countries. And they share a lot of Parkinson's disease data. Of course, he's also editorial board member of the Annals of Neurology, which is one of the famous neurology journals. His group is actively involved in integrating knowledge of human genomics for widening the scope of practicing integrative personalized medicine, taking essence from yoga, Ayurveda, holistic medicine in a most effective and a sustained manner. So here we have a person who combines the genetics, the molecular tools from his training in PhD and postdoctoral training in the US to understand and dissect out the mechanisms of yoga, Ayurveda, effectiveness. And till now, we had the closest we went to genetics was yesterday, Dr. M.R.S. Rao, who spoke about the educational requirements and the how the career advancement pathways, it requires some change in our qualifications and having sandwich degree programs. He mentioned he was also from the cancer genetics program. He had his expertise in cancer. But Dr. Parimal is probably our first invited guest who's a core geneticist. He runs a genetic testing laboratory in addition to his research program that he told. So we are really excited, Dr. Parimal, to have you in our program. Sorry, viewers, we had a little bit of delay because Dr. Parimal was trying to log in and first trying the Wi-Fi, and then we agreed that we should not use the Wi-Fi and try to use the phone internet. So he's using that. And so far he has not been disconnected. So I think we will have a seamless presentation from him. And we were talking if we should have a PowerPoint presentation. So and he agreed that we should go for a face-to-face monologue without using slides because it's more interactive and you all can ask questions by using Facebook. And this is also more involving and engaging. So Dr. Parimal, we are all looking forward to hearing from you, to all the interdisciplinary audience from the Yoga Academia, from biologists, they are there, some of the policymakers are there. And I'm told by my team that about 20 to 25% of the people are outside the country also. And we do this program 6 p.m. every day as a part of our Integrative Medicine Case Report Journal, which is trying to bring the East and the West, the evidence from the East and West, and publish it after standard peer review. So over to you, Dr. Parimal. We look forward to hearing from you. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Anand, for this nice introduction. And I hope the internet will support us for this. Thanks for inviting and giving me this opportunity to share my views on today's talk. The title I have given as a practicing integrative medicine in post-genomic era. And again, thanks Dr. Anand and his team, yoga scholar, PGIMR. You know, in fact, I met Dr. Anand for the first time when I came to PGI, Chandigarh, to take a PhD Bhagavasi of one of his students. And matter of fact, since then, we have been in touch for several professional activities, initiating interdisciplinary collaborative research work, discussing about system management of genetic diagnosis in India, both at chromosomal and molecular diagnostic. And I have seen he has also taken a leading role for practicing integrative medicine in the country. Yoga, as you all know, it says integration or adding it, is one of the major partners in integrative medicine practices, and which is actually being actively chosen by lifestyle of people, not only in India, across the world. And again, there also my friend, scientist Dr. Anand, taken initiative to spread this word in different forums to reach out the maximum people in the society. In today's talk, what I'll do, I will try to share my views on this, connecting between the integrative medicine and human health. While we talk about integrative medicine and its practice over time, it gives us the clue to discuss about how different disciplines of practicing medicine arise at different time, and especially in recent years, a new strategy, we can say, of integrative medicine has become the go of the day, we can say. Means so prevalent, is being practiced, is being taught, is being taught by several
I think there is again a problem. I must apologize to the viewers. We were having recurrent problems with Dr. Parimal's internet at Banaras, at Varanasi. It seems is again logged out, so we'll wait for him to join. He was actually trying to build a background, a platform for understanding the intervention of Ayush and yoga from the genetic perspective, using his own techniques that he uses in the lab, which are advanced molecular techniques such as polymerase chain reaction of the PCR and chromosomal chromosome-based in situ hybridization techniques, and the ones that he actually uses to detect the genetic disorders. And because he, as I mentioned, he runs a genetic diagnosis program. So we will wait for him to come back, and I hope he's able to come back. We were having disconnections again and again, but this is the problems of technology sometimes. And I think slowly more and more scientists are getting back. I was taking your turn, Dr. Parimal. Thank you for coming back. And thanks for coming back. You have to unmute your mic. You have to unmute your mic.
Yeah.
I took your.
Audible now?
Yeah, everybody is live, and I just told them that you logged out accidentally and that you'll be back. So over to you again, please. Carry on.
Yeah, sure. So I hope I will start again. So I don't know when I drop back. So I was talking about human body, and I said mentioned that human body is made up of 10 to the power 13 or 100 billion of cells. Now these cells makes tissues like blood, which is a connective tissue, and then several tissues makes an organ, like a kidney is an organ, or the lung, or the brain, and several other organs then makes a system that we all know from our school level study, but just for refreshing, I'm just bringing it forward, like digestive system, nervous, reproductive system, and civil system to our body. Now, as we remember from the school level study, that we have two types of cells: somatic cell, which contain two amount of the genetic component. I'm coming to genetics. And then somatic cells, examples like skin, nail, kidney, and the reproductive cells, which is haploid, contains half the amount of the genetic component. For example, for reproductive cells, which is like sperms and ova. Now, to the same tone, you all remember from the basic level of this biology that each human cell is made up of cytoplasm and the nucleus, while cytoplasm consists several working components, organelles like mitochondria, Golgi body, nucleus, is also, it has nucleus, which is also called, if we remember correctly from the class 10, 12 books, this is also called brain of the cells, means the master cells, and which actually holds the blueprint of life in the form of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Why I'm saying so? Because we have varied audience. So the blueprint of life is DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Now, these DNA constitute genes. Those are the major component actually responsible for holding maintenance of normal human health. So clearly, any change in the blueprint, either at very basic level or even the higher order structural or functional level, will destabilize the cell function, leading to a disease condition. And you know, the condition disease, we say when it is different from the is, so that is disease. Now, these changes in the gene, either in alone or even in combination or along with other environmental, giving special note on environmental and lifestyle factors, means whether I'm practicing a sedentary life or regular life, having all physical exercises, poses more impact on disease conditions. Point to be remembered. Now, let me tell you from some major research interest of my lab to make it more clear. And my major interest of the lab is in studying genomics of polycystic kidney disease, which is a kidney disorder, Parkinson or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is a neurogenetic disorders, renal cell carcinoma, which is a cancer, and also the congenital lack of teeth, means lack of teeth by birth. Now here I've introduced a term called genomics. Now I should give it a single line definition of what is genomics. As I said, the blueprint of life is DNA. DNA makes the genes, and then genes reside in the chromosome, and each cells in the nucleus, especially for the human, that we have 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs. Out of that, 22 are autosome, and one pair is called sex chromosome, which helps in determining the sex. X-sex combination in case of female, XY in case of male. So the blueprint, that welding in nucleus in the chromosome and the DNA is the key. And up-to-date knowledge as of now, this works in a central dogma theory, DNA to a messenger RNA, and from that an RNA, a protein is based. So in a human, I'm just taking this example, like in others animals, on higher animals, or in plants also, this theory is valid as of now. Means DNA gives an instruction or a messengers. That's the first expression of the gene. And then last expression of the genes is called protein. And within this protein, these are the building blocks of our life. So say for our hair, nail, anything. This is the structural part of the protein and also the functional part of the protein, like hormone, digestive enzymes. Even our lens of the eye is made of protein. So these are the three major components where we can think of it, and then everything being operated with that. So total collection of number of genes is called the genome of an individual, and the studies of the gene in terms of its structure, function is called genomics. So while I say that polycystic kidney disease and other things, I'm studying the genomics of these, means I'm studying what are the genes involved in defining these disease conditions. Is there any structural change in the base component of the responsible gene? And if it is there, what is this? What is the mechanism that it is being expressed? And then to find out what are the options that we have it to restore it or to manage it. So major aim for studying all these things is to identify the defective gene and its variant, because sometimes the building block is changed, so variations comes in. Taking a common analogy, say we have thousands of bricks to make a room, and one or two brick will be of different type, and that could be the changed one. Now this change either could be sustained, bypassed, or to be hooked to have the function properly. So it's like that. So that changed one from the normal one is called variant. So our first aim is to find the responsible genes and is there any variation. And then if you find a variation, functional characterization of these changes, how it does, what it does, and the way. And then obviously you compare it with the normal one. By comparing them, we try to predict by in silico, in computer prediction analysis, what could be the deleterious effect. Take an analogy in a room, if one or two bricks are different or change, we can predict that what is the type of brick that it has come, what kind of defect it has been, and with this, what kind of problem or deleterious effect it can pose to the work. So that is similar kind of things. And then comes find out the measures to restore it. Can we restore? Means if we bring this analogy, whether we can change that defective brick to the normal one, possible. Or if not, what are the other measures we can take to manage this condition? That is called disease management. There could be two different ways to do that. Mainly, one is called, as you all know from media, is called gene therapy. Means therapy involving the gene, where our rosy idea is to replacing the defective gene with normal one. Possible. People are doing it. It is coming to in broad use. It is still expensive, but it is getting success day by day, and then we are more near to give it in a much more population in a cost-effective way. But while this gene therapy is not being, in use by the common people everywhere, we can manage the deleterious effect of the mutated genes. We can think of, because I have told you that it is like DNA, then RNA, and the protein. So with the defective gene, we now can think of that it will giving a defective message, and then followed by it will give a defective protein. And this protein, which is nothing but the building blocks of all our structural or functional things, can we now either partially or completely block or destroy this expression? And here comes the role of medicines, drugs, different school which are arising from different school of thoughts, and also the practices of therapies. Now, this array of therapies which is available now, which range from allopathy to homeopathy to Ayurveda to Unani, then alternative medicine, and you will find a term called holistic medicine. These are called combinatorial medicine. And we find that not only that, along with these, the practices of Indian traditional yoga with Dr. Anand, this platform is giving a major boost on that, has been studied long back as an experimental observational science that it has an impact in disease management and cure, or even in prevention. But there was a lack of connectivity of given scientific evidence. But nowadays, in recent past, it has been shown experimentally to verify and cure several diseases. So that's what it is in, this is being heavily discussed, and then we are trying to find out throughout the world that what is that missing link and how it is being connected to find out and scientifically. So you can say knowledge of human genomics, as I say, the total number of genes, their function, expressed, and identifying those individual variation among different population. But this whole world, we have different populations: Caucasians, then Indian, then Mexican, then Chinese, then the Black African. We found that in different populations there are variation in the genome, in the blueprint of the gene, and this variation is also found in the different subgroups. Means even in Indian population, we Bengalis are different from Marathis, Marathis are different from Marwaris and others. So while in Indians are different from Caucasian in some building blocks in the blueprint of these things, among the Indians in the subgroups we are different. So you can think of when we are different from these things, and these variations gives us, makes us respond to different way for different environmental cues, and also to different doses or types of medications. Because in a common things you can find, even if we are in a hostel, we all are staying together, but in a winter day, some got cold immediately, and a few people will find it's not getting cold. And these all because they are very different from the other group. So this responding thing has been gone through and find its base in the individual variation at genome level. Taking these things together, that integrative medicine now can be practiced with array of potential to find out custom designed personalized medicine. The very happy term. Earlier, we used to have a common feed, common medication, common dose, which suits to everybody. And then we found the same thing becomes adverse to some patient. So the concept came in, is it something related to our gene variation? And it found, yes, it is, as I said. So based on this individual variation, now we can design, detect, and plan for different medication and different dose, and which will be very personal for a single individual. And that is in practice now more and more. So this again give us the opportunity to design personal medicine, and in the other hand, integrating different combinations of medicines and its doses. When I say different combinations of medicine, that medicines can arise from allopathy, homeopathy, or even a combination of allopathy, homeopathy, and with yoga. Say, for an example, a specific patient, say for a particular disease, now could be prescribed for the combination of allopathy and Ayurveda medicines, or formulation like Kaha in recent past. which have been mostly used for common cold, and even it has been now shown and talked for a period of time that even it could be used with our recent problem of COVID-19 symptoms, and that could be used simultaneously. And also suggest that the patient, along with taking two different medicine of individual personalized doses, could be suggested to practice yoga exercise. Nowadays in different TV channel, it's being shown, and this different combination of this thing for a particular person, so that's why the personalized medication, person can yield a better and sustained recovery with less or no side effect. So that's the beauty of this thing. And about these things is being now much talked, integrative medicine. Earlier, we used to think either allopathy or homeopathy or Ayurveda or something, but now in a holistic medicine, we are talking about to add, integrate, which is also the real meaning of yoga, for the best sustained things for better result. And at the same time, to filter out non-complementary combinations of medicines or a single school of thoughts medicine for that. And that's where the beauty of the yoga is. And in fact, the wisdom of practicing yoga exercise, practicing age-old traditional Ayurveda, and similar other holistic medicine from across the world are in pipeline for being validated, by for up-to-date scientific knowledge after this post-genomic era. Why after the post-genomic era? As I mentioned, there was a loss of connecting link, because I used to say, okay, this has been some observation, have some bias, it says that it works, but we don't know how it works, or there is no proper explanation for this. So that missing link with as our acceptable scientific knowledge at different level, we are trying to cross verify at broad level, at molecular genetics level, and the molecular diagnostic level, at the genomic level, at the proteomics level, to find out, is there a link? And if there is a link, how we express all these kind of things. And that's why now array of things are coming up. And that's in fact the basis of the concept which is being carried out of genomics. And it is coming up in a nice way with all experimental validation and this thing. So this combination is the output of Human Genome Project. It's a Human Genome Project because in 1990, Department of Atomic Energy in USA took an initiative that we need to know all about the human genes that we have it, so that we can get what kind of base pair we had it, what is the sequence, and what is their structural things that it is working on, and what is the higher order structure of these things. So that is, and what is functional genomics? Means this change or normal one, how it function ultimately to keep you healthy, or any change is this thing, how it make you disease. So in Indian scenario, the Indian Genome Variation Database, again, it was an initiative and it was prepared in collaboration with CSIR along with the prominent scientists from India. We studied out what are the different variation we have among the Indian population, was studied during genomics, and combination of these two things, that Indian Genome Variation Database and studies on genomics, actually have had initiated a very positive state in this direction in India. I think the stipulated time is over. So I will conclude my session here. And thank you for these things. For any clarification and these things, I'll be happy to take it on. Thanks,
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Anand.
Please. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Parimal. And I think congratulations to both of us that we maintained our continuity. There was disruption, but you came back. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming back. We were able to complete your talk despite some interruptions. Congratulations. Now we were able to understand. You very nicely described that all cells have nucleus. They have DNA, and it codes for RNA, which codes for protein. So you also defined what is genomics. You also told all the audience how the genetic variations are there between groups of individuals or races, and how it can impact the health outcomes. And you also touched on the combinatorial or the holistic medicine, as you put it, may play a bigger role in post-genomic era. And then you nicely described why you call it post-genomic era, because we have technology and tools and knowledge from genetics. And after the human genome was sequenced, there are tools to investigate and see which particular individuals with which genetic variations may have certain outcome versus another individuals which have certain genetic variations. So, and you very also defined that it is possible to, as an extension of your description of the holistic medicine, you said allopathy can be combined with Ayurveda, can be combined with certain yoga protocol. So I think it was an amazing description of the role the genetics or the molecular tools can play in the emerging era of holistic medicine, and especially combinatorial therapies, as you put it. So there are some questions which are coming up, and I will you. Are you ready to take a few questions? There is, yeah. So there is one Utkarsha Shivastav asking. It is said that diseases such as polycystic ovarian syndrome, which are majorly lifestyle-related disorders, is it possible that we can design personalized medication based on the analysis of their genomes? And she also goes on to ask also how would diseases such as thyroid or diabetes that affect the parents of such a patient would affect the genome of such an individual? So I think she's mainly asking if we can have a personalized medicine for diseases that have that are lifestyle disorders such as polycystic syndrome or diabetes or thyroid problem.
Yeah,
So,
that's very much
what is your
possible. Again, the basic platform is same to have the genome sequence, which is also possible nowadays because people are now thinking, not now, I mean, 10 years back when in the developed countries are given the chance that now onwards, every person will have his whole genome sequence and then can carry like a medical record card with him or her, and then it could be scanned immediately and then try to find the genes underlying for a particular disease, compare it with the normal, and then look for the possibility that what best combinatorial medicine or single medicine can be given. So for polycystic ovarian things, yes, it is possible. And there are polycystic ovary also, there are other school of thoughts like Ayurveda and others are also medication, and that same medication will be done. And for the lifestyle, as we know, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, because we have surpassed the world with type 2 diabetes. And this is having multigenic disorder. And also sometimes it found is a, not only multigenic, is multifactorial. Because multigenic means where more than one genes involved. And multifactorial means when there's not only one more than one gene in also factor like lifestyle, whether I be sedentary lifestyle, more eating, less this kind of thing. So that's a lifestyle pattern, smoking, other things. So that's like that. So this is more complex to them. But scientists now trying to harness these things, studying at genome, also the environmental factor, lifestyle in a combination that how is impacted because we are pretty close to it. Now these all will come not to cure it. Most of the genetic diseases and other things are not curable. It cannot be restored 100%, but it could be better managed. And day by day, and every time that we are finding it, in every research, all are coming, even some other disease which was earlier used to call monogenic, now it found it's multigenic or polygenic. So this situation will come. So people now all the time talk of, now when we go at the depth, it's called better management of the system that you have. So yes, it is possible as with first questions.
So I think Dr. Parimal, for the viewers, is also indirectly referring to the lifestyle-based epigenetic effects. Also, he did not say that, but probably the genetic variations in any disease can probably be modified by environmental stimuli or lifestyle changes.
Right.
So, for example, if there is polycystic
Very
syndrome,
good question.
yeah, you want to
Right.
expand that?
Very good question. I was actually waiting to give this clue to them. What is called epigenetic? The name itself says is something over the basic things of gene or genome that we have. So it's an additional player. Say for a software, it's an epigenetic on the top of the basic configuration of the genome that we have. That's called epigenetic. But obviously, when this DNA, other things are based on nucleotide base and other things, it's also a chemical nature, methylation, acetylation, and other things which has done in particular basis of the configuration of the gene is changed its functions. Either it's overexpressed, less expressed. Earlier, people say that it's less expressed, it suppresses, but in sometimes in places in a differentially regulated gene, it has been found that epigenetic factor increases the expression. So those things act on the top of the base genome epigenetic factor.
Correct.
Yes.
And also, it might be possible that a certain disease, whether it is diabetes type 2 or polycystic syndrome, ovarian syndrome, that they may respond based on their genetic constitution to a certain pathy better than
Yes.
the other, or even worse, or even better than in a combination. So we will need to do large clinical trials where we have a group of individuals with a minimally variable genetic changes in one group, with another group and the third and the fourth group, and then study the health outcomes of the intervention,
Yes.
either in combination or in singular. And then it is possible that certain patients of certain genetic constitution suffering from polycystic ovarian syndrome may respond better to Ayurveda and the yoga protocol than allopathy and Kada, maybe, for example. Is that what you're
Possible.
trying to say? Is this the
Yes. Yes.
implication of the importance and
Yes.
the genetic constitution of an individual?
Definitely. Yes. Mr.
So, yeah. Kishore Gupta asks, talking about variation of medicine against the disease, Dr. Parimal, which marker have you been studying? You can, would you like to name a marker which you have followed in any of the genetic disorders, Parkinson's or your kidney disease or cancers? You want to name a study?
For
An example
what's the
of
question? What's the question again?
Well, question is a little complicated. I will read it, but the essence is, but I will read it for you. Nice information, as there is response variation of medicine against this disease. Other way to relief is really a hope. Which marker was considered in your study for genetic variation, he's saying. So he's not precisely asking, but I guess what he wants to know is, from your own studies, have you hammered down to a marker associated with the disease?
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry if I did not interpret it correctly, Kishore Gupta ji.
No. No.
Yeah.
So I think again, the marker, which will be a marker? A marker could be a particular gene or a locus in this thing which is underlying to the disease condition. So what happens, especially in my case, when I have studied the Parkinson disease, we have taken is as a monogenic disorder. Although there are several markers, several genes like 10 genes, like pink is one of them that we have found it. LRKK2, that which has been studied, but this is having less variation in Indian population. uterine function. Parkin is another, is having more impact in India. So those are the markers. And then based on studying the genetic constitution by sequencing of these marker of the candidate genes, we found novel variation, which we have been published. And one of the very critical things we have published, and that's why that MJ Foundation actually formed literature. They invited us to join their group. So that was very specifically finding for Indian population, which gives us this possibility or the handle in our hand that we can now specifically design, test particular medicine or medicine combination. It can come from, Ayurveda only, because we have studied component of Ayurveda and it has gone up to the my study that how it can correlate this thing. So these are the major goals: pink, parking, park two, and that.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Kishore, this person who asked the question then now clarified that he was asking with relation to polycystic syndrome, any marker. Did you work on that? I don't think you are working on polycystic syndrome. Are you working on?
I'm working on polycystic kidney, but not in polycystic ovary. He's asking about polycystic ovary, I believe.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
How much will it be beneficial to understand role of genetic variations in infectious disease such as COVID-19, where environment plays a pivotal role? This is an external virus which infects. So I think you can address that. There are people who are
Sure.
Yeah.
This virus, again, this is a major problem, and you all know that every time it's being hammered, is also having mutation in their genome material. Now, what is our immediate response? We want to develop a technique, procedure, medicine, vaccine, antibody, whatever, to get rid of the virus load. That when we get it. Now, to make a vaccine, when I'm in concern, I had some work on malaria vaccine and other things. Like in protozoan, is that antigenic property is being changed. And this change comes due to the change in the base component of a amino acid or the protein or the viral protein that we are targeting, say COA or spike-like protein in this COVID-19 that we are targeting. And we found there is a variation which is found only in Indian state. That's why it's a Indian-like spike, which we are targeting. Because developing antibody that you target a specific antigen, you develop the antibody into it. But in the meantime, if you find, because there is a constant battle for evolution, because they have also to survive and we have also to survive. So they also try to mimic it, change it. So the moment you make antibody for one specific antigen, they change it. And that's why earlier the whole concept of recombinant DNA vaccine came in that we have used, where instead of targeting one particular antigen, one particular epitope, not antigen, epitope, we try to get epitope, which is called multi-epitope, and then screening it from different stages, say blood, sexual phase, asexual phase, it stays, and other stages, so that even if it's one got misfired, it will be catched by the other. So that kind of things could be done. And that's being
the genetics. Yeah, but that was a very nice.
So in case of genetics, they are changing their genetic material. And
but I think already from the point of view of susceptibility to COVID-19, maybe genetics is.
Yes, very good question. And then susceptibility comes when it's invade the host, it all are different. So when we are say all different in terms of SNPs or other genomic things, you can say that, or common analogy, even if we are all male, we are from different groups, different population. So my genetic component is little different from you, and that is related to this, whether you are physically weak, I'm physically strong, or you are physically weak, but you are strong in your immunity, maybe, and I'm not, because it's then again goes to that how quickly my immune system can make an antibody for it. So here comes again the Ayurveda will fall back. we say immune booster that increases the immunity. So again, your as in recent practice, kara and other things of different combination of this exercise, he says, is an protective things. It is making your immune system so strong that any foreign antigens coming through a virus or parasite or anything, we are immediately can recognize as self, non-self, make the antibody, and then so that's the combination. So our individual immunity gained either from inherited or again be piled up, made by taking all these alternative medicine, which is a scope that we can make it strong, and that's what we are practicing it either by that kind of Ayurvedic practice, Ayurvedic yoga practice in a combination to make ourselves immunologically strong than others to come.
And the best thing probably is that say if it has a genetic basis, whether for the viral and more so for the host or the susceptible individuals, then a good genetics which empowers the host to resist better is also inherited, isn't it? I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
if we talk of genetics, we talk of inheritance. We are
Yes,
able to inherit the resistant types into the F1 or the pedigree and then further on. Am I correct, or you want to?
not 100% because something that we inherit is yes, yes, and something will be having in de novo at that time. Like,
Correct.
and the same thing happened when that problem was like in most of the cancer, because we say that cancer caused due to the mutation, and the earlier definition, classical definition of mutation was any inherited change. But now later on we found all the things for a cancer are not inherited. It destabilization arises in this life cycle and then it's finished with that cycle. That's why the two terms came in later on called somatic mutation. Means it's arises one's life cycle. If all have been inherited, then it would have been very, very disastrous. But it's not like that. So similarly, if you carry some immunity from inherited, that's best. That's happened all the time through the mother, because that's what we say that mother's milk and other things we have the cholesterol brings more immunity and other types of things. That's why the life size is being now changed from Western culture to this culture that you create. So some because that's what the life is. Life gives the protection in terms of everything through the gene to protect up to these things, and then it's switching on your immunity genes or immunity production, and also having effects on the environment or alternative medicine to work hand in hand with. But yes, in theory, if we can get 100% protected immunity strength inherited, would have been better, but it not happen all the time. It's not happen all
Correct.
the time. So it's some that
Very,
you get it and some you acquire.
very
Acquired
nice.
immunity.
Absolutely. Nicely dissecting the immune profile, the genetic basis of immune profile. And now we will take the last question, although there are messages pouring in, complimenting you for, thank you, sir, for giving very useful information in a simplified way. Thank you for the information, son, sir, by another person. Another Muhammad Dilshad Rain saying very informative session. And then final question is from one viewer and also mine. Do you think the yoga practices may also have some implications for brain disorders or in general genetic disorders, or if not genetic disorders, will it have any impact on the genetics, you think?
Definitely yes, because that shot has been perceived long back when I was not very much interested or known about this Ayurveda, the and also the yoga practices. But in the recent past, like you are the one of the flag bearer of these things, and when I start reading papers and gone back, and then I have found it has immense impact, and it has been proven, and you too also are proving it in experimental basis, because I know that even Parkinson disease and other neurological disorder, there are things that call deep brain surgery that you do. But in addition to this, practicing specific patterns of yoga and other things in a controlled and the patient with statistically proven that it has recovered towards almost the zero in a normal condition. Then certainly it has it. So what you find, this observational study earlier, they may not have given that experimental proof because that time it was not available to that, but the work had happened. But they couldn't explain it, or we missed this explanation that how it happened, but it happened. Certainly some things could happen. It has a mechanism. It's our lack of knowledge to find out that how it happened, right? So definitely it had its impact. And that has been proven in number of diseases. When I was in States also, I know a story from the India. I'm just forgetting, but the name was Soma Sarkar or somebody, some Bengali. And that boy was suffering from autism, which was not curable, not problematic, and there's has a publication in Nature and that she was continuously sticking to this kid, making all possible means, taking from yoga, these specific practicing, and to bring the integration. And that boy has done excellent. So certainly yoga and other things, because again, eventually, as I mentioned, that's why I try to give very simplified view for the very population. It's nothing but cells, genes, and product that we are maintaining. So yoga specifically finely chosen, adapted action, either initiating or satisfying or triggering a specific organ to release something that, say for digestive system, they're plain things, I know it, like Vajrasana and other things. We use it for helping digestion. And we know the long cassette of digestion that we need digestive enzyme. Now, either you could have insufficient digestive enzyme, that's why it's not working, or you have it, but it's not being released. So specific asana yoga practice can trigger this enzyme. So there, everybody knows. So I'm just making this connection. So the diabetes also you pumped out for even like nowadays that bronchial pneumonia, other things related either through COVID or some other things. The yoga and whether all these things that we are finding out, breathe in, breathe out, physical means, but doing the same work. So these are analogy, just like bird wings and then aeroplane wings is working, whether it is being done that way or this way, the final impact or work is. So yogasana certainly have this thing. And in fact, and one point of time we thought of that we have some substantive pressure that we can collaborate with you and people and others to bring it to the next level, because we have been now recognized for this. Definitely yoga has this. Definitely yoga has an impact on that.
Thank you. And Dr. Parimal Das, these are the kind of evidence that need to be published, and so far there was not a single journal which could publish. They have found by the yoga intervention, Ayush intervention, the others. So we invite and we solicit research articles, at least the case reports, which doesn't even require an ethical approval. People there in the studios, Ayush clinics with Siddha Unani, practicing and finding good results. We encourage them and inspire them to collect the data before and after, and we are willing to advise them, and we are planning a session also. We did one and we'll do another one to inspire them to publish in this journal. So this journal through lockdown and unlock, so that what you described about your US experience and your own other studies around genomics, either with yoga intervention or Ayush intervention, needs to be brought out in the form of a publication. That becomes the data and the evidence. So we are very happy that you pointed that out. And before I close, I thought that would be the last question, but here people are there with Mr. Roshan Lal saying thank you, and Madhu Topadia, I'm just naming them because they are attending your talk throughout. Good information, Dr. Parimal Da. And then Vijay Kumar saying the last one, let's make it the last because it's already 1 hour we've been talking. One more query I wish to make is that in near future, can there be any host genetic variation based strategy to tackle infections such as COVID? Till date, all the focus has been on the virus. So I guess He is talking of host response. He is talking of host genetics as it confronts the viral infection. So host immune response is of course very important. And when you talk of host immune, I think the host genetics is comes into play. It comes into play. But what he asks is, can there be a host genetic variation which can be instituted to combat viral infections? Or if
Yes.
not COVID,
Yeah.
any infection? Are people working on that? I think that is an area close to eugenics, probably engineering.
Yes, yes, yes,
Right.
yes, yes,
Correct?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Francis Galton's longs back so that if you can change it and then yes, theoretically it is possible. And host parasite interaction is a new thing. It has been studied long back for specific things and all the time for this kind of interactions. But specifically asking the question for COVID-19 for host parasite interaction or host virus interaction, who will be the better survivor is yet to come. But yes, the question could be asked, the appropriate methodologies could be applied, and the results will tell us is it or is it not. So thereby we can definitely guess, yes, there will be variation. Definitely there will be variation. Because when there is a term called interaction, take it a common logic. When you say interaction, there will be sometimes 50-50, there will be sometimes 50-60, super combination. So it has to be combination. To get it stabilized, it all the time may need to reach to the stable condition of 50-50. But that 50-50 achieving may not be possible by all the, because we are different. Again, when we are different, and according to our different of weak or strong, our immunity will be strong or these things, so response will be different. So definitely it has an impact of the host and host constitution, whether you see it at physiological level, whether you see it in its genomic level, it will be a difference. And this.
So thank you very much, Dr. Parimal Das. Mir Iqbal Kabir joins me as the last comment in thanking you for coming to our
Okay.
platform.
Thank
Namaste
you.
from all of us in Chandigarh around the world.
Thank you for giving this platform. I'm happy to do that. And I hope it was of use, because as you mentioned, I tried to in a more simple way. I don't know whether I had been connected to everybody or not. Probably yes, but thanks. Thanks again.
The simplicity, the simple way was what was actually appreciated. So thank you for that. And I hope we will get the feedbacks, and I will send you the link, and you also circulate.
Sure.
More and more people are able to be informed about what's going on with genetics and with genetics relationship to Ayush and yoga and everything. All right then. Thank you, Dr. Parimal Das.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining
Thanks.
in.
Sure.
Good evening. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.